So our second session this morning is a retrofit and upgrade, and we'll start off with Graeme, who is talking about design aspects. Graeme.
Thank you. Hi. We're going to talk about upgrades, retrofits. Important to have an understanding of what it is. I'm going to kind of, as you would expect, I'm going to turn it on its head a little bit. Upgrades, why do we upgrade? Why should we upgrade? Depending on the source currently being used, and gentlemen alluded to the fact that we might be using really old technology. You can get anywhere between 10 and 40% electricity usage savings. 75% of buildings have outdated lighting. What do we call outdated? Stuff that probably isn't up to date 5 years, 8 years, outdated probably 10, 15, maybe 20. 80% of sensory input comes through the eyes in any environment. We also, as I've already said, we use our brain to recognize the fact that we recognize a space if we've been there before, if it feels comfortable or not. And controversially, different tasks and activities have different visual demands. Yet we all kind of recognize that there are guidelines out there that we use as mandatory minimum standards. The guide says 300, so that's what you're getting. In some cases, it's not enough. And in some cases, we maybe have to look past that. So lighting has a massive impact on any environment. Absolutely, it does. I go back to some of the older images that we used to use to find things that are probably poorly lit. I was in an office recently where I took light measurement readings. Old installation and 115 lux at people's desks. Shocking. But unfortunately, we are equipped with the human eye, which is absolutely fantastic. And your eye can't tell. How much light's in here? How much light's in here? Answer, you don't know. Because the human eye is not a light meter. What's a color temperature? Unless you have something to compare it to, you can't tell. So anyway, why would you refurb? Well, if this was your environment, you wouldn't be terribly happy. But unfortunately, this is the environment where our friends and family probably actually have to do most of their work. So the greatest opportunity for reducing energy and cutting costs, change of use, change of owner, or update from one environment to the other. So what is it we need to take into account? We need to look at client engagement, get a conversation to get the client and customer engagement, find out what the expectation is. Because generally the expectation is not maybe as high as we would expect it to be. Reasons for refurbishment are client expectations of their environment, existing drawings and information on site, and test certificates. So this is the information gathering on the pre-survey. Get as much information as you possibly can as to why the change in the environment takes place. So we have this kind of list of this audit, site survey, existing lighting and consumption. We put it on a spreadsheet. Site audit report, the distribution equipment and electrical installation, the earthing, distro equipment, protective devices, containment, wiring, ceiling type, access equipment, internal and external lighting requirements. These are all part of what we should survey, the questions that we should ask. And what we then do is we fill that information into a site survey spreadsheet, which should include everything that we can possibly find out. The more information you have, the better the change will be. That's absolutely clear. So whenever it comes to refurbishment types, what are there? Well, point-for-point replacement. That's always a real big draw, because a lot of clients will go, we don't want any upset. We just want to take one down and we want to put one up. In the modern world of LED, we haven't really been innovative. We've just made LED perform like everything else that came before it. LED luminaires are 1.2 and 1.5, but they don't have to be. They don't have to be. In the old world, why was a luminaire 1.2 long? Say it louder. 4-foot tube. That was the reason why LED luminaires don't have to be 1.2 long. But you tell us they do. Why? Because I might want to take a 1.2 down and put a 1.2 up, and I don't want to paint. I don't want to paint underneath the old one. And that has kind of stopped the way LED can be used, because we don't like change. We like things to be the same as they were. And in some cases, that's a problem. So we like a 1.2, take it down, and we like to put a 1.2 up. We like it to visually look the same. In some cases, we get clients coming to us and say, we want something that looks like the one we're taking down. Okay. Nice. So you have to get an LED luminaire to look and behave like a 1975 Louvre luminaire. Yeah, I hope I'm drawing a picture here. I hope you're kind of looking at what it is. Similar style of luminaire, no structural changes, no additional work required. Why? Because that costs money. We understand that fundamentally. Secondly, and probably the best way, is a new electrical infrastructure and lighting layout. Let's do a layout with modern luminaires that actually may overperform what you have currently. And therefore, you might have to rewire and you might have to redesign, but what you get is functionally a far better space. Works better, behaves better, probably is more efficient, but you have to put the money in to do that. So what you get out the other end is more beneficial. And then finally, for me, the best way to do it, add additional things and give it some future proofing. We were talking about where we are now, where we're going to be, and where we have been. It would be lovely to put something in that was slightly over-designed with a better type of luminaire and give you a far better end up of the project. But then that costs more money. And where this term value engineering comes in on the original terms of value engineering, it was to add value. Doesn't happen now. So I would like to see the word VE taken out of the sentence and the word cheapen put in, because people don't mean value engineer, they mean cheapen. I'd like you to cheapen this project. I'd like you to cheapen your quote. And that's essentially what we're buying into. And I'll go back to high-end luminaires can come apart. You can change bits in them, future-proofed over the years. If you buy a cheaper downlight, a cheaper luminaire, you can't do those things. And it will never get to the point that you will be able to, because technology, Haye's law would suggest that as technology rises, cost drops. We reached a crossover point 6 years ago. You're not going to get better technology for a cheaper price. I'm sorry. The logistics don't work. So you need to look at what adding extra stuff actually means. So when it comes down to the lighting design, you have to look at criteria based on the application. What is the application? Who's coming in to use it? What demographic are they? What age group are they? And find out as much about what's happening inside the environment as possible, because that allows you to make a better decision. And then I get people going, Graeme, we don't know. We don't know what's happening in this room. But we do know that there'll be people there. We do understand that. So anyway, we then look at the luminaire choice. Lots of choice of luminaires across the market. Absolutely lots of choice. Find out the best one. Fulfill the client brief. The client will have certain expectations that need to be met. Absolutely. And then emergency. Oh, big bugbear of mine. Where's my orange box? Emergency has got to the point now where we just want to do enough. I get that all the time. I just want to do enough. So let me ask you a question. When was good enough actually good enough? Because I ride a very fast motorbike. I ride a Ducati Panigale. And I ride it quite quickly. And I bought a new crash helmet recently, and my friend said, how much was your crash helmet? And I went, 600 quid. And I went, what? You can get a crash helmet for 150. Yeah, but I've only got one head. So this idea that we take into emergency just doing enough. If you think you can squeak one, why not put two? Because it would be better. Imagine if it was you. sitting working, plunged into darkness, I've got to get out, and some Herbert put the light in the wrong place, or only put one where there should have been two. I think there's a big issue. Anyway, and then ECA, we'll talk about what ECA, Enhanced Capital Allowance. So these are the things that you need to take into account whenever you are looking at a refurb or a refit or a remodel. The ECA, Enhanced Capital Allowance, was changed February 2018. Efficient white lighting units, combination of a light fitting or luminaire with one or more light sources, associated control gear, single package, remote control gear. Neither light fitting or light sources nor control gear alone could be said to comply. So it's the complete unit. And we should always, folks, talk about the complete unit, the complete system. Don't let anybody ever tell you that the light source is separate from anything. It's not. Anyway, so what you do is if you comply with this, the criteria set down in the document, you can get money back, you can get capital allowance back again. So it's obviously handy to look into it. Secondly, I'd like to talk about a thing that I came across when I was putting this together. These presentations have been peer reviewed before you get to hear them. Obviously, we can't stand up here and spout nonsense. So as part of the peer review, it came out that there was a thing called a consequential measure. And these consequential measures have an impact when you do a refit or a redesign. So in there, part L2B, it says consequential improvements to energy performance. And it says in there, it includes useful floor area over 1,000 metres square, an extension, initial provision for fixed building services, or an increase to the installed capacity of any fixed building service. And when you dig a bit deeper, the consequential improvements table, and I know you probably can't read it, but it does mention there in one of them, I'll zoom it in a wee bit, this will reduce the solar gain and hence space cooling demand. So any general lighting system within the area served by the relevant fixed building services, which has an average lamp efficacy of less than 45 lumen per circuit watt, should be upgraded. Essentially what all that long-winded table says, if you change the air conditioning or the air movement in a space and modernise it and change it, you may or should also upgrade the lighting as a consequence of one and the other. Does that kind of make sense? And this is something that gets bypassed all the time. So it's something that we need to have a wee look at. Supply and demand. We tend to think of refurbishment in two very distinct ways. Supply only, point for point, absolutely, and then turnkey, which is a full design, install, redesign, whatever else it takes. And whenever we talk to our clients about these things, they generally think that fundamentally they have the money to do one and not the other, without really understanding what the benefits that come behind it are. And this is a big source of amusement for me, because all we're trying to do is we're trying to provide an environment where people can be better at what they do. And obviously, the better lighting in a space obviously has a massive knock-on effect to who we are as people. Because we'll ask the question, why do we build buildings? Why? For a laugh? We just got to tell you what, we're going to build a building over there. Why do we build buildings? To put people in. We build hardly any buildings that don't have people in them. And if people are the source of the reason why we do it, then people should have some sort of say, really. Because when you design something, you tell me that the guide says 300, you give me 300, and for some reason we use 4,000 Kelvin. I'm not really sure. There's nothing in anything that says we need to use 4,000 Kelvin. There's no design guide that says it, there's nothing. So we could use 3.5, we could use 3. But in doing that, what we're doing is we're changing the environment. You say 300 lux at 4,000 Kelvin. I don't like that. I don't want it, and it's not enough for me because I'm an old codger now and I need more light. So you tell me that you put me in that environment there, that's what we're giving you. We're doing it to primary school children as well. We're putting them in environments and they're meant to nurture and learn. Or what we do is in an open plan office, we put me, loud, brash, abrasive extrovert, beside somebody quieter, maybe certain, slightly younger, slightly more introverted. And you expect us to work to the best of our ability. And you don't ask. Here's the idea. This might be a bit much for you to take in. But why don't we overlight and dim back? Why don't we use colour tunable luminaires that I can choose what I want? You know what goes against the grain? You go, no, you can't have two luminaires side by side that are different colour temperatures. That would be terrible. Who says? I don't. Anyway, So what we do is we do this kind of point-for-point replacement. We give what we always had, and nothing really changes. So factors for assessment. What we normally do is we do these pie charts that report capital cost, operational cost, cost of ownership, ECA, crossover points, and we go, yeah, that's fine. Blue cape, trunks. We do that's fine. When really what we should be looking at, and I don't say for 1 minute the people in this room do this, but there's a thing called a sick day. And it's not those days where you're too ill to function. It's those days where you can't be bothered with Jim next to you, your screen's wrong, your chair's rubbish, my manager's terrible, and you go, oh yeah, boss, sorry, yeah, I'll be in tomorrow. Where's those golf clubs? Now, each one of you has 2 of those a year. And it's worth 2.2 billion to British business. I'm not saying you do, but average. And those things come about normally because the environment is poor. No daylight. Talked to architects recently. They work in a subterranean basement with no daylight. In the modern world, really? Let's put on some lighting that can maybe change throughout the day and give you the appearance of daylight. Anyway, so this is the point I want to make to you before I finish. Good lighting has been shown to have a positive effect on staff morale. Are there any bosses in here? Are there any department leaders? Are there people who have staff working for them? Come on, there has to be a few. Yeah, begrudgingly. Yeah. You want your staff to be at the best. You want, when they work for you, that they give you their best throughout the time. Yet we don't pay them any truck whatsoever. We just go, yeah, just go in there and do that. Staff morale is very, very important. When you get staff morale, you get people who go above and beyond the expectations. Secondly, performance. It has been measured that performance in a well-lit environment goes up by 10 to 12%. It's already been tested and documented. Less sick days, and I don't mean, I mean golf club days. And even productivity. It's difficult to measure productivity. Really, really difficult. But if you get people in really super duper environments that are well lit, that have the proper furniture, have the proper ergonomics, that people perform and behave better. I've got a friend who earns an abhorrent amount of money working as a dealer in London, and he moved companies recently, not for more money, but for a chair. The company he went to gave him a Herman Miller chair. 3.5 grand for the chair, and he thought, they think that much of me that they've spent this amount of money on a chair. But he's in the chair for 10, 12 hours a day. So we need to maybe look past the idea of point-for-point replacement. We need to look past the cost, the initial cost, to what comes out afterwards. And essentially the environment that we make for each other, and refurbishment has a part to play. Thank you very much.